All right, guys. So I'm just getting these spools ready for the cable installation, um, and I'm trying to come up with a method that is going to make it somewhat simple, as easy as it can be. Um, and what I got here is a new cable, and I've got another new cable that's all unwound and installed. So I've pre-wrapped the spool. You get about 9 wraps one direction and then 8 wraps the other direction. And then I've made these little clips here that once it's wrapped, you slide this on, and then I put a little tape over the top as a precautionary to help keep it from coming off. So that's pretty much what I got going there. This is basically just tin flashing 10 millimeters wide. And so I just wrap it through. One thing you need to be careful of is the which one is which. So when I took mine off, I was careful to label the left and right. So this is the right one, and you can see the R on the bottom. You want to make sure your right spool is the shorter side, and the the left side of the spool, the short side of the cable, comes off, and then the other side of the spool is where the long end of the cable comes off. So it's a little bit things there you need to be careful of. And so what I did was I took the cable, laid it out all unrolled and everything. I laced it through so the short end was um, on the bottom and the long end was on the top. So you want to wrap, basically get about 1/3 of the cable. So you want to slide the cable through, so that 1/3 is on the one side and then 2/3 is on the other side of the spool. Um, so I took the old spools off and I measured where the line was, or the cable was on the spool, and it was about 1/3 down, because it's a shorter run inboard than it is outboard, because there's a longer run for the cable on the outboard of the spools. So I figured it was about 1/3 to 2/3. 1/3 on the inside, 2/3 on the outside. And the way I'm wrapping it is I've got the short end of the cable going down. And so basically, you'll be wrapping it upwards towards the middle. So you want the two cables to meet directly in the middle. And so I'm going to be wrapping the other cable the same way, except the other direction. So I'm going to be feeding the short end down and then wrapping it this way instead of this way, because this is the left spool. So that's where I'm at with that right now. And then here's my steppers. So I figured with the dampers removed, which I highly recommend removing those things. They really don't make the thing much quieter. It's already a really quiet machine, and by taking them off, in my experience, has not made things much louder. It's about, you want these spools to be pressed onto these arbors with the dampers removed, so that the middle of the cable on the spool is 16 millimeters from the bolt holes. So 16 millimeters from the face of the stepper motor up is where you want the center of the line. So you press it on that far and you measure to where it's 16 millimeters in the center. And that will align it perfectly with your extrusion and the bracket that the stepper's attached to. So so far this is kind of what I'm coming up with here, and I'm trying to, you know, it's a very daunting process for a lot of people replacing the cables, and I'm trying to come up with a simplified way of doing it. So I think the best way is pre-wrapping like this. You know, you don't want your cables to unwind, and you want to keep tension on it until the cable is taut and everything. Then you take your retainer clips and stuff off. So I'm going to be installing these cables with the carriage and the gantry as close to center as possible, so that it's the same run for both sides. And that way I should be cutting off the same amount of cable on both ends. So you don't want to be turning your spools after they're installed and everything. So you want to make sure the cables are all installed with the gantry and the carriage directly in the middle, so that way everything is symmetrical. So anyway, that's where I'm at with that right now, and so stay tuned for the next video, guys. Take care.